Happy Saturday, everybody, or happy weekend, whatever. Hi, I'm Charlie. Welcome to the live for this week. I'd love to welcome all the new people. There's so many new folks, and I think we had over 100 new people just this week. It's great. I'm so excited to have you. Welcome. This is our live feed. We do it once a week, and these are free. There's no nonsense. The point of this is we're going to deep dive into a bunch of things every week. We give homework, so if you want to get any of the ebooks that we have, you can get them for free just by doing homework. Or if you do any of the homework, you can also get onto our Patreon where all the ebooks are, plus all of the lives are stored and cataloged and searchable and all that good stuff. You can get half price on that, or you can get into the Slack channel for half price if you do the homework. So if you're enjoying this and you're trying to find other things, this week's homework is going to give you just as much benefit as all the other week's homework. All you got to do is do it, and you get a bunch of free stuff. Also, I'd like to thank Tony, because now I have a whiteboard, so we're going to get into some of that stuff. This week, we're going to dive deep into automation, and I got a bunch of your questions from inside the group. So we're going to cover all of that. To start off with, I would love for you guys to do a simple thing, and this is a reporting exercise. Your homework for this week is to pull a report from Facebook so that you understand what your number is at a 28-day click, 1-day view, at a 1-day click and 1-day view, and then at a 1-day click. What are the differences between those numbers? What you'll often find is the 1-day click, 1-day view is like 80-90% of what the 28-day click, 1-day view number is. And that means that Facebook's taking a lot of credit for a lot of people that are viewing your ads, which means Facebook is showing people your ads. They are converting on other channels. And if you really want to improve your performance, you can work on that 1-day click number, and then it'll make all of your efforts more profitable. Also, it means that you can optimize to a 1-day click window instead of a 28-day click window, which means that your decision making now doesn't take 28 days to see a result. It takes 24 hours. So you become 28 times more effective. How do you show the homework? This can be really easy. I trust you. Just go in to the customized columns section, because a lot of people don't know how to do this. So go into the customized columns section, right? And when it shows you the custom columns at the very bottom, go into the report section or the reporting tab. At the very bottom of it is a customized columns. Click there. At the very bottom of that, you will see attribution window. So there's when you're in the ads manager, in the top right. So I'm going to try to use this thing. I'm going to try to use it. Hold on, Tony. Okay. So this is your screen, right? Up here on the screen. There we go. So you got all your columns and stuff. Up here, there's a button that says reports. Click on it, and it'll have a big drop down. At the bottom of the drop down, it says customized columns, and then there will also be an option for attribution. Just click the thing that says, open that up, and click the little button that says 1-day click, take a screenshot of that. I'll trust that you've done the rest of it. But the idea of, because I don't want you to be afraid of having to send me your numbers or any other things like that. I know a lot of these things are very private information, and well, to be honest, I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to get anything over on you. So it's a very simple facet. Just show me that you can pull a report on a 1-day click, but your homework is pull it on a 28-day, at a 1-day click and 1-day view, and then at a 1-day click only. I suggest you do this for like 3 months and pull the report. If you're really going to get fancy, pull it like at the weekly level or even at the monthly level, just so that you understand. If I get, a 12x ROAS at a 28-day click, 1-day view, and I get a 10x ROAS at a 1-day click, 1-day view, and then I go to 1-day click and I'm actually at a 3. By the way, those are completely bullshit numbers. You probably won't ever see those numbers unless you're taking credit for a lot of other marketing channels. But if that's the case, then you know that Facebook View is taking credit for a lot of work that you're probably not driving. Or if you are driving it, it means that you probably could be way more efficient in making sure that you have a branded search campaign, that you're utilizing what Google has to offer, because people are looking at your product. They're being They're not clicking on the ad, but they see the ad, and then they go in and they search for it, they find it. If you were to start a branded search campaign, odds are, and by odds are, I mean, I would put hard money on if you started a search campaign inside of Google with your brand name and or product name, which is in some of the retargeting books and also the brand builder ebook and about all how to do that stuff. If you were to do that, you would see phenomenal return. Maybe you get very low delivery. Maybe you spend $5-10 a day. Maybe you get $50 to $100 back minimum. If you're not making 5 or 10x back on your branded search, then you're not doing it right. So anyway, it's a great way of evaluating your performance right away and to understand what objective you need to start testing for. It's really easy to do. And I just did some audits for some big companies. And I found that their internal reporting were at a 28-day, and they were like, well, how do we make a decision? It takes a month for us to see that 28-day number fully mature. Well, I pulled the report at all those different intervals, and I found that their one-day click, one-day view was like 85 or 89% of the value that they had at a 28-day click, one-day view. And then I pulled a one-day click number and found it was 1/10 of that. So we know that basically 9 out of 10 customers that they get in an average day come from people that view, those people have viewed a Facebook ad. And we know that 9 out of 10 customers that come in over the course of a month are seeing a Facebook ad within the last 24 hours. Now that's a phenomenal bit of intelligence that we were then able to provide and then strategize off of. And it meant that we no longer had to wait 28 days for some number to give us a really great thing. And this is also a reason when you see some guru or some person trying to sell courses, do all sorts of other bullshit, when you see them giving you these magnificent numbers that are like, oh, well, this asshole's getting like 24x return on his ad spend. If they can't tell you what the number is at a one-day click, if they're looking at default, if they won't answer the question regarding what attribution model is, you know they're lying to you, and you know this is how they're lying to you. So if you ever want to look into somebody, or if anybody's doing work for you, if you want to do work for somebody else, this is a great way of understanding it. And so it's easy for you to do. Just take a screenshot of you even being able to click one-day click attribution, and then I'll believe you that you're doing all the other things. And if you don't want to do it, if you want to cheat me, fine. You're the one that loses. I don't care. I'm going to give you the free thing anyway. So there you go. That's the homework for this week. Super, super simple, extremely valuable. And if you do follow through the homework and you get a bunch of numbers and you don't understand it, send me larger screenshots. I'll help you out. That's what we're here for. And if you're in the Slack, you can upload it into there, and we can get a whole bunch of people helping you out, start long conversations, start doing testing models, and work your way through to get really, really profitable. That's what the Slack is for. It's taking these little pieces and turning them into a huge conversation with a lot of great advertisers, or just one-on-one with me, and I'll do the best I can to help you out. And this adventure where we get into Scrum docs and make tracking, documentation. I can do it for you. Like, there's a lot of value in there. So I really suggest do it. And if you don't want to pay full price, do the homework and you get it half off, right? So anyway, love you guys. Let's get on with the show. So today, what I really, really wanted to focus on was I asked a poll this week. How many of y'all use automation, or think what was the limitation? Why aren't you using automation? Let's see. Why aren't you testing creative against broad by concept with automated rules yet? And the number one answer with over half the votes, it's like 80, almost 70% of the votes were, I don't know how to use automated rules. So we're going to cover today, how do we use automated rules? I'm going to try to draw a lot of this out. It would be really helpful if I could do a screen share with Facebook Live. Won't let me do that. That's fine. We're going to get some places together today. First off, automated rules. The easiest way of finding it, when you're looking at your ads manager, you can click a campaign name. You can do whatever. When you're looking at it, I'm going to try to draw this out. I'm going to try to draw it out. So you got your, your account button, and you got your campaign button, your ad set, and your ad right across the top here. And then you've got like your ad, you've got like this little row of buttons that comes across here, right? Well, here you've got create, and then you got duplicate, and then you got edit, and a couple other things. At the very end over here is your rules, okay? Now, when you click that section, it comes down with create a new rule, apply an existing rule, and manage rules. We're gonna create some rules today, okay? And I'm gonna show you what to do. I'm gonna show you why we're doing it. And we're gonna go over how they're best implemented with more than a few different options and sort of some examples, okay? So my main focus is that at the end of today, one, you're gonna understand with right there, where is automated rules? Okay, now I know where it is. I can get into there. What is the next step and how we're using these things? So first off, I wanna tell you, automated rules, the primary reason that we use automated rules is because they will allow you to do work 24 hours a day. I was actually on the phone doing something with the client yesterday, and I was telling them about automated rules. I'm trying to train up their internal team, and we went over basically saying, hey, look, if you have automated rules in place, then you, instead of spending your time day trading on Facebook trying to do a whole bunch of stuff, which, to be fair, I see a lot of people saying, well, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm winning. It's one, they're working too hard. Two, they're lying to you. Three, they have something to sell. So almost anytime you see people saying that shit, you can just turn it off right away, because nobody working really hard, let me tell you, nobody working really hard is day trading on Facebook unless they're just, if they are, they're fucking exhausted and they're doing a bad job. So, automated rules. The first piece of automated rules that's really, really important to us is that it's going to do the intraday work, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we can set up some stop loss rules, right? Stop loss rules. I don't know if I can put this on an easel, but anyway, we're gonna get there. So stop loss rules, those are the most important things. So what a stop loss rule is basically saying, if performance today isn't good, well then stop spending. I'm not interested in you spending money today where something isn't very valuable. It's also a way of saying, if performance long-term isn't good enough, turn off this ad or turn off this ad set, something along those lines. So for instance, an example that I was talking with somebody about yesterday and I thought was a great thing to share today, in automated rules for this particular situation is, sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here to make sure that I got the right thing. Okay, cool. So automated rules for this situation, we're setting up automated rules for the lifetime of ads, okay? So the main thing we're doing right now, and the first thing, is an automated rule to turn ads off that aren't performing well. So when we're in the automated rules section, I'm pulling mine up so I can stare at it, right when we're all gonna be looking at the exact same thing. So I just wanna make sure that I'm seeing everything. So we're gonna create a new rule on that menu that I showed you, right? Now it's gonna come up with a lot of options. It's gonna say apply rule 2. It's gonna say action. It's gonna have conditions. It's gonna have all of these different things. So first off, what I do is I generally apply the rule to the campaign. So I'll select the campaign and then I'll apply the rule to everything within the campaign. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to set a rule up for every single ad, set. I'm going to say this campaign, because all of our campaigns should be organized by business effort, right? So we are, in the campaign, we're trying to sell these pins, okay? This is a pin. We're going to try to sell these pins for $10, okay? So our target CPA for this example is $10, all right? $10. All right. So we have a target CPA of $10 for this pin. So we have it, the rule is set at the campaign level, and we're going to apply the rule to everything inside the campaign. Now our action is going to be, we're going to turn off, so when you're in there, you hit it at the campaign level, and then you can apply the rule to the active ads within that campaign, all right? So the first piece is campaign level, right? So we're applying the rule to the campaign, and then we're going to apply the rule The first thing, apply rule 2. So we're going to highlight the campaign and then go to the rules section and then say create new rule. Then we're going to apply the rule to active ads. Okay? And then the action piece, which is right below that, we're going to say to turn off ad. Okay? So far what we've got a stop loss campaign for a pin that costs $10. We're going to the campaign level. We're going to highlight the campaign and then apply or create new rule. And then we're going to apply rule 2, the action level. Let me write that down too. So we got all this. I got this whiteboard. I'm all excited. Here we go. Okay. So this is create rule. I think it's create new rule, but I'm running out of space. So active ads. Apply rule 2. And then turn off ads is going to be our action. Now below that, just so you all got me here. Holler if you hear me. All right. There we go. So now what happens below that is says all of the following match. And what we're doing now is we're going to say what conditions create the rule. So for the conditions, what we want to do, and this is an example of something that I just did, this week. We're doing creative testing. That's why we're applying these rules for, by the way. I said that for all the following, I use most common. I said lifetime spent is greater than 5 times my target CPA. So the common conditions, I'm going to go here. So lifetime spent. Okay, and then we can also do another rule based on, if you click the little button there, it'll come down. You can go to website conversions, and then you can say purchases. So you can say purchases and Facebook pixel. The other really common one is going to be in right below website conversions is cost per website conversion. So in here you can do cost per. And here you can do purchase or maybe lead or add to cart. But for this example, we're going to do purchase or add to cart. Because in this example, the advertiser doesn't have a large budget to test all of the creative with. So what we're doing, and you'll start to see this when you're building the campaigns, what we're doing is we're basically saying here, oh man, I got some alert I got to email somebody yesterday. Ooh, sorry, Outlook. All right, so we've got a campaign for an item that's selling for $10. We want to sell it for $10. That's our target CPA. So at the campaign level, we've created a rule. Then we're going to apply, I should have done this the other way, whatever. We're going to apply the rule to the active ads in that campaign. Our action is going to be, we're going to turn off the ad. Now, for the first rule, what we would do here is we're going to set some rules up for lifetime spends, okay? And the reason we're doing this is because we want to do creative testing. What we're saying, if this ad spends X amount of money and doesn't do something, then it's not good for us and we want to turn it off altogether, which means we now no longer have to spend the time in our day doing creative optimization. We're just turning off ads that don't work anymore. So every action that you want to do is a new rule, okay? So the first rule is going to be pause the ad if the lifetime spend is 5 times this, right? So if we spend $50 over the life of this ad, now this is an advertiser that's spending $300-$400 a day, and they were doing 2 or 3 concepts across 2 or 3 campaigns, which means no campaign's really getting more than $100, and it has to be split maybe 5-10 different ways. What we're saying is over the course of that campaign, the lifetime spend of that ad, if it spends $50, lifetime spend is greater than 50 and purchases is less than 1, turn the ad off. It's just that easy. So now what we're saying is if this thing spends 5 times my target CPA and doesn't get a sale, turn the ad off. And what that means is that ad will be off forever, and Facebook won't try to spend money there anymore. Now, why is that valuable? One, that saves time for you. You no longer have to now evaluate, oh, is this ad good? Is this ad bad? No, this ad spent 5 times your target CPA, didn't lead to a single sale, or whatever your target objective for that campaign is. Now, maybe your objective for that campaign is a lead, or the objective for that campaign is an add to cart, or a landing page view. If it spends 5 times your acceptable cost for that action, maybe this $10 isn't the cost for CPA for a sale. Maybe this $10 is for a landing page view. That's a really expensive click. Or maybe it's, I'm willing to spend $10 for somebody to register. Okay, maybe it's not a sign up, but it's just a registration to maybe sign up for later for a lead gen campaign or something. We're saying if they spend 5 times this number, right? If they spend 5 times that number and get 0 sales, less than 1 conversions, then turn the ad off. And now Facebook will never try again to spend money on that ad, in that ad set, inside of that campaign for the lifetime of you running it, unless you turn that rule off. But Facebook will know, even if you make a mistake and at some point in time later want to accidentally turn that ad back on, every half an hour, Facebook's going to look at it. Oh, nope, that one breaks the rule. We're going to turn it off. So that's the first rule. That one is super easy. That one makes creative testing really simple. So basically what happens is you're only running ads that actually produce an end result. Now, that's a great first step, but it's not really going to get you all the way there. The next thing that we want to do is say, okay, well, all of our ads are driving sales, but they're not really, are they doing good enough for us, right? So this is where this cost per comes into play. So say we want to get something in at $10, right? Hopefully, by the way, I'm loving this whiteboard. Thank you so much, Tony. I don't know why. Brock was doing this for, like, when I started this damn thing, when I was going into his group and stealing all of his people. By the way, Brock Meisner, great guy. Sorry about the Anyway, say my goal is $10. And my second rule, now each one of these rules, you can only have each rule only do one thing. So they're all if-then statements. If this happens, then do that. There's no but unless this, no. Everything has to be very, very binary. Think of it as training an entry-level employee, where you're giving them a very hard, fast set of rules. If this happens, do that. It's just that simple, okay? You can't get more complex. It literally has to be just that easy. So, rule number 2 that I use for everything, by the way. I use these rules all the fucking time. Now, the parameters might be a little bit different, but these rules are applied to every ad inside of every ad account that I run for every client, because it makes my job a lot easier. No one's ever going to be able to go in and say, well, this one ad spent 20 times my target CPA and delivered no results. Why are you spending money on it? No one's going to catch a mistake because Facebook won't let me do it. Facebook is my entry-level employee. They're my grunt working 24 hours a day to do all the work that people are expecting me to do. But instead, I'm just their boss. That's where we're going to get you to. So, next thing. Rule number 2 is saying, pause your ad. Oh, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Sorry, my phone is here so I can see your comments. Okay. Nope. Don't you. There we go. Okay. Hi. Hi, Vanessa. Rule number 2 is to say pause an ad if your CPA is 10% over your target and you spent 6 times your target CPA. Now, what does that look like? So that means pause the ad. If our goal is $10, right? Our goal is a $10 CPA. That's our target, right? $10. If we spend 60, right? 60 spent, because now you're starting to use the terminology within the rules. 60 spent, and then the next piece is cost per is greater, and I say 10%, is greater than 11, turn it off. You're not going to massage that number down. There's no reason to worry about it. It's better for you to find other ads. So right here, right off the bat, what we have is the first ad, the first rule, we've already gone over this, is turning ads off that have a bad, that over the course of their running have not done you anything that is desirable. Number 2 says, okay, this thing's delivering me some results, but maybe after I spend like $60, my cost per is at like $20. Well, you're never going to hit your ROAS goal if your cost per is 2 times your target CPA. So if your client says, bring me leads for $10, and you're getting leads for 20, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to that ad with targeting or with anything else that's going to get it down to that number when you're prospecting, right? So you can abandon that ad entirely. Now, I tend to be very aggressive with this number. I say it's over 10% over my target goal. Over the lifetime spend of this thing, kill it. I don't need to worry about it because I know the number one thing that's going to move and make performance changes inside of Facebook for me is new ads. And to be fair, that's also the same with you. New ads. The number one mover inside of Facebook is the ad itself, is the Facebook post. Your ad is a Facebook post. A good Facebook post will beat out the targeting all the time. People say that. This is an example of why, right? So say you have a Facebook post that's bringing you, if your target is 10 and it's bringing you a 20, no amount of targeting or interest groups or behaviors or engaged shoppers or any of that stuff. And I'm a big fan of engaged shoppers. We've definitely made it a big part of this group here. But no amount of that modification, when you're doing $20 at broad, is going to get it down to a 10. The only way you're going to do that is within retargeting. But we're talking about prospecting right now. But these rules also, by the way, do apply to retargeting. This is primarily for creative testing instead of prospecting at broad audiences, which is pretty much the only thing you need to do inside of Facebook. That should be 80% of your Facebook spend, 90% of your Facebook spend. And then the number one ads there get rolled out through scaling campaigns and retargeting campaigns. And even those could have their own creative testing. The point is, I know that if I launch 2 concepts in a week, right? And each concept has 3 to 6 ads. I know that I need to burn through those ads as fast as possible and run only the ads that are getting me the results that I'm really looking for. So as a result, these rules will only let the best ads stay live inside of my system. And if any ad eventually that was good, gets creative fatigue and eventually goes away, it just stops working nearly as well, it's going to be eventually turned off. Almost every ad will lose efficiency over time. No matter what you do, most of the ads will eventually just lose context. And that's okay. It happens, right? Basically, you've shown that ad to enough people where it just stops working, which is why you're constantly trying to test and learn new ads and new concepts. But anyway, that rule will forever not let you run any ad that's a complete loser. And if any ad that you do have live eventually over the course of the life of that ad is 10% worse than your target goal, it won't spend any more money. Now, maybe your target goal changes to a 15, and then you change that rule to a 15, and then you can light all your ads back up. And that's fine. You can absolutely do that. Absolutely do it. So the last bit of rule here is something that I like to do where I say reactivate. So I'll, go to the campaign level, create a rule, active ads, apply rule. Now here, where it says turn off ads, I'll go in and I'll say turn on the ad. And I'll say turn on the ad where the CPA is below 10, right? Because maybe what happened is this ad, for whatever reason, is it $10 is my goal. Now maybe I've turned off a bunch of ads, but now my goal changes to, well, I've added some post upsells and I've got my average order value from $10 allowable to $15. Maybe $15 is a success now. So I can have a rule that says if any ad has cost per of $15, turn that ad back on. And what that'll do is that'll go back through all of my campaigns. That'll go through back all through my ads and find the ones that weren't good enough at $10, but now good enough at 15, and turn them back on for me. And so it's doing all of the hard work. It's going through all the campaigns, all the ad sets, all the ads, looking at the lifetime performance, and picking and choosing only the best ones and turning them back on. It's doing all of that 24 hours a day, every half an hour, no matter what. If you're awake, asleep, on vacation, at the office, working on another client, or just letting it be. If the internet fails and all the servers go down inside of your country, which happened to me like a couple years ago, it's awful. It's still optimizing your campaign 24 hours a day inside the system, so you don't have to worry about it, which means you can now spend this work right here. Takes a lot of advertisers 10, 15, 30, 60 minutes a day. It could happen, especially if you're running like 10 campaigns, 15 campaigns, you're doing creative testing, you're trying to understand the results. That alone can give you back an hour, 5 hours a week. What is that worth to you? So the point is, that's an extraordinarily helpful situation. Now, the next piece that I want to get to, and this is the last look, and obviously you can screenshot this or pause it, or get some of the ebooks where I write all of this stuff down. This is in the creative testing ebook. This is right out of the CBO ebook. And for more results, you can honestly just ask me and understand more of this. Now, some of the other things that we do want to look at is the next set of rules that I do, which is a daily ad set rule. Now, in this case, what we're looking at is, what are we doing every day? Because what we just went over is how to apply a rule for lifetime performance metrics, right? So maybe you're somebody who is spending 10, 20 times your target CPA on a daily basis, or you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of money to burn, but you also understand that you don't have a lot of creative, so you need to really maximize the value of the ads that you have, because you can't make more ads very easily. Maybe you're not great at copywriting, or you're really busy doing other things because you're running a business, whatever it happens to be. So then what we've done, and this is included inside the ebooks, by the way, and it's actually out also in the new ebook that I'm hoping to finish this week before I go to my recording session in Rancho next week, is a daily ad set rule. So the point about this is we're going to see what's the performance look like today. So we're going to still use the same thinking, but we're going to say, instead of, when you set the rule, you can say, well, what's your look back window? You can say today, right? So instead of lifetime spend, you can just say you're spent today. Okay, so I spend today. If I spend today 3 times, is over 3x. Okay, so if I spend today 3 times this goal, now maybe this is a situation where I'm spending a lot more money, but this time, let's say that the $10 isn't the purchase, right? Let's say I'm in a situation with I'm just gonna bullshit a number here. Let's say it's a $5. I know that I'm getting add to carts for $5. All right, now I don't have nearly the amount of budget to be optimizing towards purchases, but I moved up the funnel, and I can say, okay, well, I know that I'm driving enough of an add to cart to understand if something is working. And this is probably the most common way of applying a daily what they call intra-day set of rules, especially if you have lower budgets, especially if you have not a lot of ads, especially like if you're very diversified. So I'm going to try to do this, and if you do have a lot of money, or you do have if this doesn't apply on a day to an add to cart, move it up to a purchase. That's absolutely fine. I'm trying to give an example that fits the majority of people. So now at the add to cart level, right? What we're saying is, if today spends 3 times my target CPA, so say my add to cart is $5. If that ad spends $15 today, it doesn't get me a single add to cart, kill the ad, right? So there's rule number 1 right there, right? Spend today is 3x my cost and 0 add to carts. Pause the ad. Now I know you're like, well, what happens with the ads? Hear me out. We're gonna have a rule ultimately at the end. Hi, Elisa. We're gonna have a rule at the end that reactivates these ads. Alyssa, I don't know if you use automation, by the way, but I would love it if we could chat about getting inside of your giant ecosystem. I'm jealous of your ecosystem. I wanna make things happen. Hello. So anyway, that's what the ad said. Now, if you're somebody like Alyssa that just joined us, maybe Elisa that just joined us, maybe this is a purchase or something else. It also depends on consideration, right? So sometimes people are doing a very high ticket item. Like I was working with somebody that was doing classes, right? And so it's coursework. It's like $1,000, $2,000 to sign up for a class. By the way, the class wasn't teaching online marketing. It was like finishing school and getting ready for college and stuff like that. So that decision takes a while. You might not get all of these actions in a day. So we moved it up the funnel to somebody getting to sign up their email address or get onto a lead gen or something along those lines, right? Because we can't optimize for purchases every day because people aren't buying every day. That's just the facet of the business. People aren't seeing the first ad and then buying. So anyway, for this ecosystem, rule number 1 says spend today. So I'm going to do this. Rule number 1 says spend today is 3 times my goal, and I got no add to carts. We're going to turn the ad off. Rule number 2 is if my spend today is greater than 5x my target CPA, and my CPA is 15% more than my target. Now, you have to kind of do this math in your head. You have to kind of put this down. So in this case, 15% of that, man, I should really do this stuff ahead of time. So I'm going to say, okay, 10% of $5 is 50 cents. Half of that 75 is 25 cents. So 15% of $5 is 75 cents. So my target CPA is over $5.75. Right? Anybody catch me if I'm fucking up this math? But anyway, okay, so here we go. So if I'm spending today is over 5x, right? My target CPA. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this way because our goal here is $5. So if I spend $15 or if I spend $25, okay. So if my goal is $5 and my spend today is $15 and no add to carts, kill the ad. If my spend today is $25 and my CPA is more than $5.75, kill the ad. Now, this will knock out a lot of ads. And what ends up happening is this really focuses Facebook to spend money on the ads that today are working for you. Long term, what will happen is ads that don't work for you ultimately will get shut off. Now remember, this is at the add to cart level. So if it's a $5 add to cart, maybe my target cost per is like $50. So for me to get to the point where those lifetime spends, maybe, if it's $50, then my lifetime spend would have to be like $150, right? Or maybe $250. What this is doing is before I actually spend that much money, if it's not getting me my goal at my add to cart, then it's going to have a real hard time actually spending that much money because we're telling Facebook that ad isn't good for us. The impressions that you charge me for on those ads aren't good for my business objectives based on my conversion window. And you can go in there and you can adjust conversion windows. I would say just set it to your account default and make sure your account default is good enough for you. That's some next level ninja shit. I go in and I do a lot of stuff. You don't have to worry about it. And maybe I'll get into that into some ebook about some like automated rules step 2. There also is, by the way, an automated rules ebook where I have screenshots of all of this stuff. Not necessarily these specific use cases, because that automated rule book, I think I wrote it about a year ago. So while the theory is there and the execution is there, the actual implementation and the rules weren't built for our current best practice CBO setup, but don't worry about it. So anyway, these 2 rules are turning off ads that aren't working for you today. Now remember, I've used the example of an ad set being your salesman and the ad being the sales pitch. We're basically telling the salesman the ads inside of our campaign. So if it says a creative testing campaign, our campaign is the store and the ad sets for all the salesmen, each one representing a different creative concept. And if those have 3 or 4 different sales pitches, if some sales pitch today isn't even getting somebody to be interested, maybe take a test drive of the car, well then fuck it, stop using that sales pitch today. And you can apply these to the ad set levels, you can apply these to the ads, you can apply these to many different levels. What I find generally is I apply these rules in different stages to all of the levels. And how I apply those rules is inside the CBO ebook. Very highly valued. Even if you don't use cost cap CBO, even if you're a big proponent of lowest cost or you don't want to use CBO campaigns, just get the ebook just so you can get those pieces. And I'm also going to more or less copy and paste some of those pages into the creative testing book, because one of the best ways of creative testing is a broad version of the cost cap CBO creative testing model. So the rules are all the same. So anyway, now we have 2 issues. One, with this, we've turned the ads off. Now they haven't necessarily done poorly over the course of the day. Maybe it's just a bad day. So we want to do 2 things. One, you can turn on at specific times. So what we want to do is say turn on at 12:30 a.m. Right? So this is going to be the 3rd rule that's happening at the intra-day rule, okay? We're going to say turn the ad back on at 12:30. Why 12:30, not midnight? Because Facebook sees 12:30 a.m. the same way it sees 12:30 p.m. 12:30 a.m. as being one day and another day, so the spends get really weird, and basically you can have a rule that at the same time turns an ad off and turns it back on. It gets super messy, so just turn it back on at 12:30. That way you know that by 12:30 in the morning your ad is turned back on. Now it's not necessarily going to be spending a shit ton in the middle of the night, but if Facebook determines that they're good impressions for you based on your rules, then, and based on the campaign build, then it's going to serve some impressions. Now, the last piece that's most important is turn the ad back on. Oh man, I wrote ton, not turn. Ugh. Turn on if CPA, if my target cost is less than $5. So what might happen is, this is the 4th rule. What might happen, and this happens honestly all the time, is my ad, I spent a lot of money this morning and some people saw the ad, and basically by lunch, Facebook saw, well, this isn't converting very well, so we're going to turn the ad off. And then like an hour or 2 later, I get a couple sales in. Now, what happens there is my cost per went from maybe $10 to $20 to, I got a lot more add to cart, so now my cost per went down to like $4. Well, that's a good ad again, so turn it back on. And that happens because not every action happens immediately when somebody's shown an ad. Very often, and we're all guilty of this, you see an ad because you're surfing, and you're stuck in traffic or on the elevator or in a meeting or watching TV or whatever. And you might not buy again until lunch or until you're in bed or something like that. Like, you don't necessarily buy right away. what we're doing is we're telling Facebook, hey, I know we turned the ad off earlier today, but now those people have come back and they've decided, you know what, I want it. So that's a good sales pitch. And so you're giving Facebook a signal saying, I like this thing. I don't like it here, but you know what? Over the course of the day, it picked up. It actually did what I asked it to. It just took a little bit longer than I expected. So turn it back on. What you're essentially doing here is you're training Facebook to understand what ads work, what ads don't work, and to also understand the timeline of ads for you, and to also understand where you want money to be spent. And also, if you do this, if you just do these 2 sets of rules, and then you run that at broad with just doing creative testing, the only ads that will run for you after a week or 2 are ads that are at or below your target CPA. This will prevent you from being able to spend money that's not good for you. Now, that's one of the reasons that I say don't even bother with interest groups, because now you're going to try to spend this money in 12 different places, 20 different places, 100 different places. If you do it in one, you're going to learn Facebook's going to learn all this stuff. Hi, Stefan. You're going to learn all this stuff inside of one place. You're going to learn it really fast. So then all you need to do is throw more sales pitches in. And eventually, some of these sales pitches are going to work. And when they work at a broad campaign, then you don't need to worry about, well, this interest group or that interest group or this behavior or this layering of different things, because it doesn't really matter anymore, right? It doesn't really, when it works at broad, you're going to be able to just increase the budget. And if it ever fails at an increased budget, it'll stop spending. But you know that the only things running in there are good for you. Now, the other downside of this is you might run this and none of your ads work, and so your spend goes to shit. Well, if your spend goes down, then you need to write some new ads. Your main job as an advertiser is coming up with ads. This is a strategy that will prevent you from having to actually do work. And you will outperform the people that spend all day trying to look important. So just come up with new ads, run it inside of this automated system, and I guarantee you're going to have one of 2 things happen. Just by your own set of automated rules, is that either A, you're going to have a bunch of ads running at or below your target cost, which means you're going to be happy with Facebook, or B, you need to write more ads because you stopped spending money. Now, the reason we do it at broad is because that will allow us to spend the most amount of money in the most centralized place. So we don't have to do this test now. We running this abroad, if we ran this across 10 different interest groups, we'd have to spend 10 times as much money in all of those places to see what's good and what's bad. And the honest truth is, the ad that works abroad is probably going to work in all those other places. If one ad works in one of those places but doesn't work, you're going to lose more money trying to figure out the one little exception to the rule than you will just running this. You're going to get profitability and stability and scalability so much faster using this system against a broad set of targeting than you will with anything else. That's just math. So hopefully that makes sense. Hi, Amber and Chris and Vanessa and Amber. We gotta work together a little bit. I don't know if you're still on this, but I notice you're not spending stuff. We're gonna get this set up. These are a lot of the rules that we've talked about, so I want to get you set up too. Anyway, so I know that was a lot, but I hope that was because of Tony's great suggestion with the thing. I hope this really, really helps you guys understand how automated rules work and how to use automated rules and actually physically how to even set them up. And if you don't know those, do this week's homework and ask for the automated rule ebook, and I'll send it to you, and then there'll be a whole bunch of screenshots. Or Google Facebook Blueprint. That's free. You don't even have to do your homework. You just have to go to Google. And it'll give you step-by-step how to set these things up. So I've laid out right now 2 sets of rules for your creative testing that will make it so that in a very short amount of time, you won't be able to spend money on Facebook ads that don't work for you. And as you keep introducing new ideas, what will eventually happen is Facebook will only spend money on the ideas that work. So the old ideas that are crushing will still get a lot of spend. And when you introduce new ideas, Facebook will try them out, but it will also spend money on the things that are working for you. So ultimately what will happen is you only spend money where it works. And because you've centralized your spend into only one or two very small, very specific locations, a broad campaign, where you are testing creative by concept, by ad set, then you are going to be able to stack your failures and your wins on top of each other at a data level, so your system will be way more stable. Now that's a much higher end conversation, but for you higher end advertisers, that's a way of understanding the effect of this upon your entire ecosystem. Honestly, I'm at a point now where I can't make a really reasonable argument for the vast majority of advertisers to have more than 10 campaigns. And that's because the reason that you would even have more than 5 or 6 is because you're using some campaigns to answer very specific questions and solve very specific problems. Because you have an elaborate ecosystem for your e-com. Anyway, thank you very much. Now let's get into some questions, all right? Boom. I don't have a problem, Facebook. Okay. I don't know, I'm getting weird texts from a stranger here. All right, so Stefan, hey, you're here. Says, what are your most important rules for a creative testing campaign? Hey, we just covered that. It's live in the thing. It's also in the ebook. So if you want to get any of the ebooks, if you want to get any of the stuff, it's inside the Patreon, or do any of the homework, direct message me with your homework, and I'll send you the ebook directly over Facebook Messenger. But if you want to get into the Patreon, I think it's Patreon Charlie TFB, but it's the links in you're welcome, and I'll, it's very commonly in here, and I'll put up another link for it in the comments section and in the description of this live as we're going. So anyway, Stefan, I didn't even see your question. I'm so glad we were able to cover it in like over 40 minutes inside this live. Claudio asks, could I have 2 prospecting campaigns on broad audiences? You absolutely can. What I would say is there's no limit to how many prospecting campaigns you want to run at broad audiences. Each prospecting campaign should address a different business objective. Maybe one is add to carts. Maybe one is purchase. Maybe one is purchase of this product and another is a purchase of this product. Maybe one is registrations, another is subscriptions, another is selling. Like there's all sorts of. When you build an ad set, you optimize for a conversion event. That optimized for conversion event should exist inside of only one campaign at the prospecting level for creative testing for that landing page, if that makes sense. So you can organize them by landing page, by event. Any of those things are business objectives, but only one creative testing campaign per business objective. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. There's no reason to do it unless somebody can come up with a reason and ask me. And if shoot, I'd love to learn from you, but let me know. Claudio also asks, I have a store with footwear around 2,000 products. How do I test what new products to advertise as I would do creative testing? Well, Claudio, what I would recommend for you is not using Facebook ads for your product testing. I think it's valuable to, in your case, if you have dynamic ads, attaching your entire catalog to a DPA ad, and then on a regular basis, pull in reports of what's selling on the DPA. You can have a report by product ID, and those product IDs will also eventually tie to a product name. And so you can pull a report from the Facebook dashboard, from your DPA ad of all the products that were sold, and you can see if you have new products, which ones are being sold via the DPA. You can also make a DPA catalog that's just new products and retarget people with those. I would suggest using email and using post-transactional upsells and other more passive methods to see what products people are interested in. Because the honest truth, creative testing should be done around things that you're banking on. If you're not sure if this product's going to sell, spending $1,000 testing creative on it is just going to tell you if the ad was good or not. It doesn't tell you if the product was good or not. You could spend $10,000 trying to sell a product, but the price was too high and nobody wanted to buy. It doesn't mean that you had the wrong ad. It means that the entire system was fucked. So I would look at DPA ads, and I would look at other things that you can do inside of Facebook, or inside of your Facebook and your website and your entire e-com system to really push these new products. Oftentimes people will have email that says, hey, new products available in our store today, and the bulk of the emails is the top like 10 new things that you're selling. Just do that and then see which ones are getting traffic. And because people land on them, they'll get retargeted with DPA because they went to that product page, and then the DPA will be selling it to them. And as you pull a report from DPA, you'll be able to see what products people are interested in. So the email is the top of the funnel there. Hi, Jackie. We're actually your questions next, so stick around. So anyway, Claudio, that's what I would do. Don't do creative testing until you've found winning products. Creative testing is a way to begin to establish benchmarks and baselines for winning products so you can scale your business based off of them. It's not the way to find a winning product. Hopefully you understand the difference there. Hopefully that makes sense. Jackie asks, and Jackie just signed in too, so she's got great timing. Jackie asks, I have 3 ad accounts with lots of great pixel data and dollars spent, but broad is still not working for me. Not very uncommon. Even when using creatives already tested and working in other campaigns. Your thoughts? Well, Jackie, I would say 3 things. Number 1, your creatives weren't necessarily tested at broad. Your creatives might work with this specific creative against this specific interest group. You found exceptions to the broad targeting rule. And the honest truth is the majority of us were running on purely on exceptions to the broad targeting rule for the majority of our broad advertising history. Broad targeting working based on machine learning with large data sets is fundamentally a newer concept inside of Facebook. It's less than a year old, really. I mean, it's a little bit older than that, but the ways you can bank your entire business on it isn't that old. So what I would say is, as a solution to that question, is take your top ads and build out versions of them as a concept. So say you've got a top ad and it's got this copy and you feel great about the copy. One concept could be that copy with 3 images. That could be a concept. Now what you're doing is creative. You're doing testing built on the actual creative within the ad. Another thing is, oh, well, I really love this picture and I've got some copy for it. Let me change the copy to a hard sell and to a soft sell and some other things. I'm going to try to do a copy test built around a control image or control video. That's another concept. Maybe, so now you start to understand, okay, if you have 3 or 4 ads that really sell that product well, you can make multiple concepts and test them all against broad. The odds are eventually you're going to find iterations that work against broad. Also, Facebook, inside of Facebook, the ads learn at the ad level, which means those ads, your campaigns, your ad sets, your entire Facebook account has been set up to succeed not targeting broad, which means you need to start these ads and do creative testing against broad so that you're establishing basically new benchmarks and training the system. If you then layer automated rules on top of that, the system will understand all throughout the day, 24 hours a day, every half an hour is receiving signals from your automation that says this is a good impression and these are bad impressions. So if you start to do that, hopefully, if you're able to come up with 4 or 6 different concepts with 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different ads inside of them, over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to start to find winning ads that work against broad. And then eventually you can start to shift more budget towards that because with your automated rules in place against broad targeting, it's only going to run ads that actually work at or below your target CPA or at or above your target ROAS. Which, by the way, all these rules can be set to ROAS instead of CPA, and just as an example. which means that your creative testing campaign will ultimately outperform everything else. Man, it has gotten shiny in here. What is that? Your creative testing campaign will ultimately outperform everything else. So that would be my suggestion. Question number 2 that you asked, man, look at that. That is crazy. Okay, hold on a second. Let's address this. Did that help? All right, that seems a little better. All right, well, whatever. Is this going to do it? Holy shit, that is bright. Anyway, number 2, is it good? Is it not good if inside a CBO I have 5 audiences and ad sets, and over the course of 2 weeks end up killing off 4 of them due to non-performance? That's totally fine. And actually the automation will do that for you. There we go. The automation will do that for you. It's completely reasonable to end up killing off entire ad sets. What I would say is, don't think of it as killing off ad sets that are working. What you're doing is killing off individual ads that didn't perform at goal. And the automation is doing that. So a lot of times if you knock out an ad set because the ad set isn't working for you, it doesn't mean that every ad had the best chance to succeed inside of that situation. And basically you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And often what I find is if I've launched with 6 iterations of a concept, 2 of them work great. 1 of them might be stellar and 3 of them are absolute shit. So it's completely fine to turn off those audiences. Turn off those audiences where in this each ad set is broad, and turning off those concepts because they're not working for you. But the concept is turned off because every ad inside the concept eventually violated enough of these rules that Facebook is turning it off permanently. And by the way, when you turn something off permanently, because you have the reactivation, you're going to start seeing like 10 cents here and 8 cents there. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, you can ultimately delete the ads or remove them from the thing. It gets messy. Don't worry about it. But it's completely fine to do that. I have that happen all the time. That's the way that you're going to narrow down all of your performance. Reading later into your question, you say, now in the 3rd week, only 1 audience continues to run inside of the CBO. Does CBO continue to have good performance that way, or should I try to avoid this from happening? CBO will continue to have good performance that way, but I would try to avoid having only 1 concept live. If you ever get to the point where after you get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 concepts live, if you're ever at a point where you only have 2 or 3 left, launch new concepts. Your main focus should be, I mean, obviously optimizing these things out and doing the day-to-day work, but Facebook automation is going to start taking all of this work off your plate so you can spend the majority of your time creating new ads and making sure that you're understanding these automations. And the other part of this also, by the way, if you get a bunch of ads that are killing it at this rule, with 5 being your allowable, then you start putting your ads for $4.50. You're going to start taking your control ads and trying to beat them with new ads by reducing that cost. And what ends up happening is you're using creative testing to drive down your cost pers, and week over week, you'll start to see more and more and more efficiency inside of Facebook. And what will happen is you'll lose spend, and then as more and more ads work, spend will start to ramp up. And it's this constant like struggle of, okay, well, you know, I'm getting it $30, but I wanted it to, I'm going to say, okay, now I'm going to want 25 is acceptable. So you lose a little bit of spend, and then spend ramps back up. And it's this nice little waves of performance. And ultimately, maybe $40 is allowable, but you're competing with yourself how to get it to 20. Don't be happy with driving, if $5 is your allowable cost per add to cart, your goal should be $1. Don't say that $5 is okay, I'm going to move on. Really, really focus on trying to drive that down. That's your job, is to become so efficient that you make every other platform obsolete. Or that you can spend your time really increasing performance so that you can pay yourself more money because you don't have to spend as much money on ads. Whatever the business objectives are, if you're providing services for somebody that's using 3 or 4 people, if every week you get more efficient, you're going to get more of their money, more of the spend. Or if you're working for yourself and you get more and more efficient, then you either get more sales and more profit, or you have less cost, which is more money for you. So there's a lot of ways of using these, but I would never let Facebook have only one concept live. If you're ever at a point where you see only 2 concepts live and you've had more than that, your number one task today is to launch new ads. Honestly, I find that it's best to have some higher production value ads and things in working, but you can also just run off with a bunch of ideas, because some will work and some won't. And your biggest thing is to say, okay, well, these are the ads that work. These are the ads that don't work. If you have a bunch of ads that work, you don't need to make more ads like them. What you need to do is make ads that are completely different, so that you have like a clown ad and a mom's ad and a kid ad and a dog ad, so that people interested in different verticals, the type of attention that you're getting varies based on the creative that you're getting. That way those ads can run inside of the same campaign and they're not competing for the impression, which ultimately gets to scaling campaigns and other stuff. We're not getting into that today. But hopefully that answers your question. All right, last question, unless anybody over here in the chat has one, is from Mark. Mark says, CBO, cost cap, campaign budget optimization, which I think was the last ebook that we had. Yeah, my last ebook, which is best practice CBO implementation. If I only sell my products in the US for Black women, should I select this location and age and gender? My store is micro niche, and I'm worried about getting the wrong kind of people who will engage with my ads if I don't target a location. Well, hi Ryan, I see your comment. I'll get to you in a minute. So Mark, what I would say to you is, you can do location. If it's extremely specific, I will do location. Like if you're trying to drive traffic to, if you're trying to drive customers to like a restaurant and it's only in one city, I would say don't overthink your market. Facebook will especially when using the automated rules, will extremely quickly understand what success looks like and what success doesn't look like. And basically what ends up happening when you use automated rules, when you're doing creative testing abroad, and when you're using CBO, is it's basically using the data set to create a lookalike audience based on everybody else that succeeded, based on all the ads that worked. And it's going to find that ad, and it's going to micro niche all of your ads for you. I would say that if it works for you, try it. I would recommend not doing a location-based layer inside of your targeting. It sounds like for your product, location isn't going to be helpful, because your target customers in every city in America. So I don't think it really makes sense for you. Obviously, there are some exceptions to that rule, but I think for you, I wouldn't include location. I would understand that it's going to take a few to really start to see success, but you as an advertiser and you as a business owner are trying to find long-term success. So cheap, short window gains that aren't scalable, aren't repeatable, and very unstable are very bad business for you. If you invest in the next couple of weeks into really getting some things that you could build your entire ecosystem off of, that's a much better play than trying to outsmart the system, which first off, it's smarter than all of us, to try to get a couple wins here or there. And I've had that conversation with a lot of people, and I beat them every time. And the reason I beat them every time is because I let Facebook do all the work. We don't need to. Facebook will. That's its job. And it's the best thing on the planet at that. That's why we're making money on it. Okay, last question from Ryan over here. Ryan jumped on live a bit late. Don't worry, buddy. I've started using automation on new ad sets, and it's saving me hours per week to do other stuff. Fantastic. How do you create rules to ad sets which are already running? Ryan, you can highlight ad sets and then create a rule to anything. Campaigns that are already running, ad sets that are already running, ads that are already running. What I would recommend, for me personally, is I select every campaign that applies to this set of rules and just create a rule for every ad set inside of that campaign, which applies it to everything. And when you create new ad sets, those ad sets will already have that rule applied to them. So love that you're saving hours. Hopefully this is really making some sense to you. All right, now you got another question. Sorry if you've already answered this, but existing ads which have a large lifetime budgets and much more data than new ad sets mean different rules apply. Or do you just make a start date as a zero reference point? Ryan, what I would say is, specifically in this case, I would apply lifetime rules to new ad sets, and I would apply intra-day rules, which we went over earlier in the live about making ads that making rules that turn ad sets or ads or campaigns on and off during the day based on specific rules. I would rely on those to really control everything that's old. Also, I would make what I have is a specific rule called always off, which means that if something fails outright, I just apply that specific ad to my always off rule. And that way, no matter what, Facebook will ultimately turn that ad off. Even if some other rule maybe turns it on by accident, it is assigned to an always off rule. And that way, something with with a lot of spend doesn't get tripped up by these new rules. Hi, Clenison. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the live. We're actually done. So anyway, I highly recommend you guys take this. I love it. Thank you so much for being around here. I really appreciate all the help and all the support and all the love I get from you guys. Please join the Patreon. Do your homework. Get half off of that. And if you really value this thing, just saying thank you by joining the Patreon for half off is a real big thank you to me for the time spent doing all of this. And invite a friend. That really means a lot. And I'm working on some new ebooks, so stick around. And if you really want to level up, I highly suggest the Slack channel. Maybe make a rule. If people do like 5 homeworks, I'll just give them the Slack channel for like 75% off or something. I don't know. If you really want in the Slack and the problem is the price, message me and we'll work on something for you. All right? I'll see you later. Good night.